So, welcome to the webinar. I'm Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. Tonight's topic is why can't I lose weight? What the weight loss companies don't want you to know. So, I'm going to share a secret tonight, and I'm no doubt you're very keen to hear the secret, hence why you've joined the webinar. So, thank you for joining. Before I get underway, I'll just share a little bit about me. So I'm a fully qualified, degree qualified clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. I also have a degree in complementary medicine, and my first degree was in chemical engineering. So I have a very strong science background. I love science, I love chemistry, I love biology, and I love physiology, I love anatomy, I love the whole body, and I love holistic health. And further training I've done with the Demartini Institute to become a trained facilitator in the Demartini method. And what I'm sharing with you tonight is what I learned from the Demartini Institute. However, depending on what your questions are, I may rely on my other 3 degrees to answer them. So anyway, I should be certainly well qualified to answer questions around weight loss holistically. Tonight's webinar is a holistic webinar. And my family are here on the left in the diagram or the photo. You can see my son, Ollie, he's up the back. My daughter, Sophia, is in the middle. And my wife, Adriana, is to my right or to your right on the screen. So please share in terms of what you've done in the past to lose weight. What's worked? What hasn't worked? Please share your comments in the chat function. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear your stories, what you've tried, what's worked, what doesn't. It's very helpful to understand what people are doing out there. So in terms of what I'm going to cover tonight, it's pretty much as per this diagram. So as you can see, there's 5 arrows all pointing into a star or forming a star. And the star is the secret, okay? So essentially all these are factors that have a big bearing on someone's ability to lose weight. And I'm going to share with you why. I'm going to share the science behind it. So essentially, the secret is that weight loss companies want you to believe that the solution is external, that someone else is going to fix it for you. There's going to be some dietary pill, some supplement, some nutritional supplementation, some food, some sort of exercise, or some sort of surgery. They have surgery these days, bariatric surgery, very popular. So it's essentially they want you to believe that the solution is external. However, the solution is within you. And that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. I'm going to empower you to find the solution within you and not rely on external solutions such as a weight loss pill or the latest diet, the latest fad. Essentially, these are all going to work temporarily, but they're not going to work long term. Majority of people that lose weight put it back on within a year to 5 years of losing the weight. So essentially, what we know is that these diet companies are making a lot of money because people are constantly losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight, putting it back on, the yo-yo effect. So what I'm going to share with you tonight will empower you for a lifetime to essentially be the master of your destiny as opposed to being reliant on some external fix. So the answers from within, and I'm going to share with you how to find the answer from within. So you can see the first arrow. It is completely individual and there's not a one size fits all. So there's no silver bullet to weight loss. It's essentially understanding who you are and what works for you and going on your own journey of self-discovery. And through that journey of self-discovery, you'll find what works, what fits in with your lifestyle, what your preferences are around dietary, and you'll basically mold a formula in terms of what works for you. Now, there's obviously external influences that come into play. And when I did a research project when I was doing my degree, there was 138 factors that can influence someone's weight gain. 138, and I'm sure there's more today. So there's so many factors that can influence weight gain, and I'm certainly not going to go through the whole 138 of them. Tonight, I'm going to lay the foundation for you to successfully best manage your weight and achieve your health goals. And so, first of all, I want you to realize that it's absolutely futile to compare yourself to someone else, right? So, that's one of the worst things that people can do in terms of body comparison, body, imaging, in terms of, looking at a body and thinking, I wish I had that, and have a fantasy over achieving that body. And in that process, they're essentially disowning parts of them, and they're not loving parts of them, and they're not loving who they are. So tonight, what I'll be sharing with you is a process through questioning in terms of how you can build a better relationship with yourself and love you for who you are, because you've been put here for a unique, special reason on this planet Earth, to essentially showcase the magnificent you to the rest of the world. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight is how to get there, essentially, at least some stepping stones to step you in the right direction. And so this is really going to help you to identify who you are and be able to live the life that you want to live. And essentially in that process, there's no comparison to others. Everyone's unique and special. We all have our own special talents. We all have our talents. We all have our things that we're not good at, right? But that makes us completely unique and different and special. And it's actually how we get synergistic behavior between us humans. In a sense, if I do what I'm really good at and you do what you're really good at, that's going to enhance the whole human evolution, because we're going to get a better synergistic outcome because we're both doing what we love doing. And so essentially I'm going to be sharing with you the questioning process to lead you to understand yourself better and to be comfortable with you being you and loving you for who you are. So let's start with knowing yourself. This is the foundation. It's actually knowing who you are. Okay. So a great way of reflecting on knowing who you are, there's certainly a side of you that you're well connected with, that you're owning, and you could be quite proud of it, right? And then there's another side of you that you're disowning, that you're dismissing, or you're resenting. And essentially that disowned side is what we see in others. Okay. So if there's someone in your life that you're resenting, you're disliking, you're despising, I want you to reflect, what is it that they do that I don't like? Or what is it that they do that I really resent? Okay. Then I want you to ask yourself the question, when have I done what I don't like them doing, or what I resent them doing? When have I done it? Where was I? What was I doing? Who did I do it to? And I want you to reflect and actually go to that moment, because it's essentially in that moment you can neutralize the emotion that you're essentially disowning a part of you, and you can bring equanimity to it, essentially by balancing it. And essentially I want you to keep finding examples until you own that trait or that action or inaction that person does that you dislike or despise or resent equally as much as what they do it. And you need to keep looking within yourself. So it's an exercise that I'd love you to start now. So I essentially want you to write down the person that you have the most emotional charge towards. And again, it doesn't have to be a negative charge. It could be an extreme positive charge. So when we essentially admire and have extreme admiration of someone, it's essentially a part in us that we're too humble to admit and too humble to own in ourselves. And so it could be something that you're admiring extremely in someone else and you're disowning in you, or it could be something that you're resenting in someone else and also disowning in you. So I want you to write down. So whether it be extremely positive thing or admiration, or or the complete other end, which is that resent, dislike, despise. So I want you to then look at when you've done what that person's done. And again, if it's something you admiring someone, you may, and you actually got to be very specific as to what the trait is that you admire in that person. And you can write down a whole list of all the people you admire and look at the common trait. And so if the common trait is, I just love how they're so inspired with the work they do, well, then I want you to look in when and look within yourself as to when you're inspired. What makes you inspired? What is it that you're doing that you feel inspiration, and you just notice that the time just disappears? It goes so quickly. That is when you're doing something that is truly special to you. That's where your talent is. That is who you are, and that's what you've been brought to showcase to the world. But you're essentially you're seeing it in others, but you're not looking within and owning it within you. And again, it's probably in a different form. So if you're admiring someone that they've got an extremely successful business and it's growing and there's got lots of customer base, then your form may be in another area. It may be with family. You may have a very successful family dynamic. You may have your family that essentially that really rely on your guidance and support, and you love spending time with your family, just like that other person loves spending time on their business and building their business. You're building a family, and a family that you're leading. And that's where your leadership qualities are, is in that area of family. The other person that you're comparing yourself to, their leadership qualities are in their area of business. So it might not be exactly the same, but you'll have that talent somewhere within you, or that inspiration somewhere within you in a different form. And you just need to look as to what is it in your life that inspires you. So for me, it's doing this, right? This really inspires me. It's a Sunday night, and I know it's your weekend as well. A lot of people don't work on a Sunday, well, particularly in Australia. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world. It's probably certainly different in Cambodia, for example. But in Australia, typically Sunday is a day off. It's a day of rest. I'm here sharing what I love sharing, which is health knowledge, holistic health knowledge. I'm inspired to be able to share this, and I'm very grateful to be able to share with this to you. And I'm extremely grateful that you've joined tonight so that I have someone to share it with. So I'm really grateful for that. And so I'm doing something that I love doing. And I'm not looking at the clock and wondering when this webinar is going to be over. I often take a bit longer than what I actually say that I do with my webinars, because I get into the moment. I get into my zone, and I just love sharing my knowledge and imparting that wisdom with you so that you enlighten your well-being. So that's essentially what inspires me, is learning holistic health and then sharing that with others and empowering others. That's where I'm inspired. So if I were to compare myself to someone that's got a very successful business and making lots of money, then I'm very successful in sharing my wisdom around health. I might not make a lot of money like they are, but in time, I probably will, because I'm doing something that inspires me. I just need to help more people. And essentially, I'm on that journey to help as many people as I can. And yes, the money will come as as a byproduct of me doing what I love doing and doing it to the best of my ability. So, what is it that truly inspires you? Alternatively, if it's someone that you're resenting, what is it that you don't like about them? And look as to when you've done it, and go to that time when you did it, so that you're actually owning it. You put yourself in that situation, and you just remember where you were, when was it, who you were with, what you did. And essentially that is owning a trait that you're resenting in someone else, that you're now saying, yes, I do that. And we are equal. Yes, you have, this side that I really am attracted to. And then there's this side that I'm not attracted to, but that's the side of me that I'm not loving. And essentially, when we do this balancing process and realize that we have both sides, that we have a nice and mean side, we have a generous side and a stingy side, we have an extreme area of wisdom and an area of ignorance, right? We have both sides, and that's life. Life's completely balanced. It's just that from the perception, from what we perceive, from our senses, it appears something is missing. But at the level of the soul, nothing is missing. Nothing is missing. And so essentially, there's only three things that we can control is our perceptions, the way we perceive things. And so you can ask yourself a better question as to, okay, if you're perceiving someone doing something, straight away, I want you to then reflect as to when you've done what you're disliking in them, or when you've done what you're admiring in someone else in terms of what they've just done. I want you to own it. And when you own it, you're loving a part of you that has been disowned, and therefore you're loving a greater portion of you. And eventually you'll love the whole you, and you'll just love who you are. And you'll have a greater connection with others because you'll be able to see both sides of others, and you'll see that they're a complete reflection of you. And if you have that holistic love for you and love every part of you and love everything that you do and don't do, then you will also see that and love that in others. And you'll have this equal and see that everyone is just another reflection of you. And it will enhance your relationships. It will take them to another level. You'll have greater connection, and you'll be grateful for the things that have happened, because you will essentially see what you didn't see initially. You'll see the other side when you start asking yourself, what am I missing? If I'm perceiving that event as negative, what was positive about that event? How has it served me? And again, you can look at these traits that you're disliking in others and say, well, how is it when they're doing that? How is that serving me and my values? How is it serving me in my areas of my life? How does it serve me? And if you ask yourself the question, you will find the answer. It's just asking better questions. And the quality of the questions you ask enhances the quality of your life. If you ask better questions, you'll have a better life. So know oneself, know yourself. And essentially, if there's anything that's frustrating you or driving an emotion, it means you have an imbalanced perception. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking, what has this got to do with weight? Okay. And essentially, when we have an imbalanced perception, our thinking is driven to our desire center, or the animal part of the brain, which is essentially the limbic center, which is also known as the emotional center. It contains the amygdala, and the amygdala runs our stress response. It runs our parasympathetic. So essentially, it will turn on the stress response and inactivate the parasympathetic nervous response. So the parasympathetic nervous response is rest and digest, and the sympathetic nervous response is fight, flight, freeze, fawn, essentially. And essentially, we want to have complete resilience. So we want to be in the middle and be able to switch when we need the sympathetic nervous system to work. We want to be in the middle and poised and centered. So when we're poised and centered, we have a greater ability to switch on the sympathetic nervous system when needed in an emergency situation to get away from a threat. However, when we are just seeing the world as one-sided, it keeps us in this animal part of the brain. It keeps us in the desire center. And so therefore, when we're in the desire center, we're seeking immediate gratification, because we're feeling that there's something missing. We're feeling unfulfilled. And from a dietary point of view, people seek fulfillment from food, or they could seek fulfillment from alcohol because they're essentially feeling empty because they're in that animalistic, one-sided view of the world. And it's either I I got to get away from this tiger and I got to run and my life's threatened, or I need to absolutely get that prey. I need to have that hamburger. I absolutely got to have that bit of chocolate. It's because you've got this one-sided perspective. It's driving an emotion either towards something, which could be chocolate, it could be hamburger, it could be lollies, it could be alcohol, it could be cigarettes, it could be drugs, it could be gambling. It's driving you towards something, or it's driving you away from something. Okay, you're either running away from a perceived threat, which could be a person that you dislike someone and you want them out of your life and you're avoiding them. And so we're driven towards instinct behaviors, which is instinctively trying to get away, or to impulsive behaviors, which is desiring, wanting to get, wanting to gain. So essentially, when our animal part of the brain is running us, we are making irrational decisions. We are not making objective decision making. It's all subjective. It's all about that immediate fulfillment because we're very unfulfilled. We feel our life is threatened in the animal part of the brain. It's all about survival. So, what do you need to do? Essentially, if you start balancing your perceptions, you elevate your thinking out of the animal part of the brain. You start to see both sides. And that's why I mentioned in terms of asking better questions and seeing and finding what you're missing. Okay. So essentially, you're perceiving this and you perceive it as all negative. Well, then ask yourself, what is positive about it? And you'll find the answer and you'll start to see the balance and that the hidden order. You'll start to see the be able to be grateful for what's happened as opposed to thinking that it's all terrible or all disastrous. You'll actually see that it was just meant to be as it was. There's nothing wrong with the way it was. And you can only be grateful for things as they are. Okay. And so the only way you can have gratitude is for accepting things for as they are. And the way to elevate that thinking, to get that elevated thinking of gratitude for what's happened, is you need to start asking yourself, what are you missing? What's going to balance your perceptions? And then you'll see the complete order in what's happened. So certainly leave me any questions in the comments if you have any questions at this point. But what I'm sharing with you is essentially when you're run by the animal center, the emotional center, we make irrational decisions. So we know better to eat more vegetables and fruit and to eat less. However, we are out of control because our animal center, our desire center is running us. It's taking us towards something that we feel that we absolutely need to fill a void that we're feeling in that moment. Because in the animal center, it's all one-sided. There's no two sides. It's all about survival. Okay. But humans have evolved in their thinking, and we can now have vision and foresight, and we can plan. The animals just react to the environment. We've gone beyond that. Our brain has the capacity to look into the future and to plan for the future, to do strategic planning, to map a path and look at both sides as to, okay, this could possibly go wrong. So therefore I'm going to put in a contingency plan just in case that does happen. We're able to look at things objectively and see the whole. Whereas in our animal part of the brain, we only just see one side. And that is, I must desire this and I must get this as an impulse, immediate gratification, or I just got to get away from this. And that's essentially that one-sided view. And that drives emotions. And our emotion drives us into action. Okay, so it is the emotions serving us from an animal part of the brain. However, we don't want our animal part of the brain running us. We'd much rather be in control and allow the animal brain to switch on when we're under a life-threatening situation, as opposed to an everyday situation where it's just triggered by someone that you see because you just don't like something that they do. And it's essentially a reflection of what you don't like about yourself. Okay. So this is all this parting to getting to know yourself is elevating your thinking so that you can see yourself for the whole being and love you as a whole being, as opposed to just loving part of you. And essentially, this will enable you to love you for who you are, as opposed to thinking you need some sort of cosmetic surgery, or you need some pill, or you need a partner, or you need something else. You need something external in order to give you fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from within. When we're doing what truly inspires us, when we're doing what's important to us. Okay, so I'm going to go through now in terms of how to identify what's important to you. And you'll be living based on what's important to you, and you probably don't realize. So essentially, whatever you spontaneously do without anyone asking you, without anyone having to pay or motivate you, you just do it every day. That's of value to you. That's of real importance to you. So no one has to tell me to exercise. Health is very important to me. And so I'm spontaneously driven from within to do exercise. I don't need any motivation, no incentives, nothing, because health is a high priority for me. It's a high value of mine, but it's not the same for everyone. So obviously, people that don't value their health aren't on joining me tonight, right? They'd probably have a higher value on being with their family, right? Because it's a Sunday night and they're thinking, well, I want to have family time. But I reckon, so I'm not saying that they need to be with me. It's if health is a high value, then they will be here. If it's of low value, then they'll be doing what's of high value to them. And as I gave an example, they could be with their family. So family is also a high value for me. Just that this also is also high. So my top three highest values is health, your health, and my family. They're my top three. Okay. And so I will every day do something with my family. I'll do something for my health, and I'll do something for my client's health. And so that's essentially how I live every day. And my fourth value is financial independence, or so that essentially I want to be able to not be a slave to money, to make sure that money's working for me. So that's another fourth value of mine. So they're my top four values. And essentially, I'm doing something every day in those top four areas. So your top four could be completely different, but that's what makes you special and unique. And that's why we have this world that's evolving and not destructing. It's evolving. We're constantly evolving. Like we're looking to occupy Mars. That's evolution. You get what I mean? We are constantly growing and expanding. We've solved the problems of a century ago. We're now tackling the problems of today, and we'll solve them. Absolutely. We'll elevate our thinking to another level to be able to solve that problem. So in order to find what you also, in terms of what you inspires you from within, what do you love talking about? What is it, a subject that you just like? Does someone ask about your kids and then you can't stop talking about your kids? Well, then obviously your kids, your family is very important to you. Or does someone ask you about your work and you just can't stop talking about your work? Then that's obviously very high value to you. Or does someone ask you about the financial markets and you just keep talking about the financial markets and which shares to invest in and which property to buy? Then that's of high value to you. Or is it that you love talking about health? So I know we have Tanya also joining us tonight, and she is a dietitian, a fully qualified dietitian. And so she has a high value on health, a high value on nutrition. And so no one has to tell Tanya what to eat. So there's no point in me telling Tanya what to eat. She knows what to eat. She knows, she's inspired from within to eat what best serves her body. And again, that's different for everyone. As I said at the start, it's completely unique and different for everyone. So this webinar tonight's not for everyone. Okay, and I think I've already lost someone. They may have dropped off with the internet connection, or they might not have come for tonight's information. It might not have been what they're looking for. So I'm completely fine with that, because I want them to prioritize what's important to them. And they may have a high value on something else if they weren't going to be fulfilled with the information I was sharing. I'm completely fine with that, because that's them being them. And I can appreciate them being them, because I love when people appreciate who I am. Okay. And love is unconditional. It's loving the other person for who they are. Okay. Unconditional. And so, don't we all just want to be loved for who we are, and not for trying to put some mask on and trying to please someone? That's not love. Love is unconditional. It's loving both sides of a person. It's loving both sides of you. In order for you to love others, you need to love the whole you. Otherwise, you're always going to see a part of you that you're not loving in someone else. And that's always going to be a point of contention or resistance or frustration with you. You'll keep running into them, okay? Because it's it's essentially a reflection of you, and you'll keep, as much as you try to run away from it, you'll keep running into it. What we resist persists. What we resist persists. Okay, so what I want you to find, or look now as to, is there something that you're resisting in your life and it keeps popping up? Well, then I want you to ask the question that's going to balance your perception. So if you're seeing something is all bad, what is good about it? How is it serving you? Okay. So the great thing, with, like, I guess, someone potentially leaving the webinar, is that you get more of my time. Okay. So that's a benefit to you. The benefit for me is that they're fulfilling their highest values, and that is where their health is at their optimal, is when they're doing what's truly inspired for them, inspired to them. What they've found with the longevity studies of the Blue Zone, and Tanya's in one at the moment in Sweden, is essentially one of the most important attributes to these people that live over 100 years. So that's what qualifies, is a certain percentage living over 100 years. There's only a few Blue Zones. There's one in Greece, there's one in Japan, there's one in Italy, there's another one in America, and I think there is one somewhere around Sweden. I'm not quite sure. I thought there was. There might not be. So essentially, what they've found when they've studied these areas of the world that have a certain proportion living over 100 years, is that one thing that they have common across all of them is that they all are living with meaning and purpose. Okay. They have all found meaning and purpose. What I'm sharing with you is for you to connect with your meaning and purpose, and that will really accelerate your health. And essentially, when you're living with meaning and purpose, you are out of your desire center, and you can look at food objectively, as opposed to labeling it and thinking, oh, that's naughty food, that's good food, but I'm feeling like a bit of naughty food because I'm unfulfilled at the moment. When you're out of your desire center and in the prefrontal cortex, so that's the prefrontal cortex, the medial frontal cortex, it's our forebrain, essentially. It gives us foresight and allows us to see things objectively. It's where gratitude and love is, because we can see things objectively. When we're subjective, there's no love, because it's conditional. Okay. And when we don't see events for as they are, and we wish they had have been this way, then we're wishing for a one-sided world, and we can't be grateful for it, because we're not appreciating the world for as it is. Okay. So essentially, when we're living in our forefront, our prefrontal cortex, that is where we can make better decisions, our rational decisions. We can see food objectively. Okay. We can see that this food will take me towards my goal. This food's probably going to take me a few steps back. Okay. And so therefore you can make a rational decision without emotion. Okay. But the emotion is inspirational emotion. You know that this food will enable you to live longer and live out your inspiration and serve more people. Okay. So essentially, when we're in that prefrontal cortex, higher level thinking, we make better decisions. We're able to choose vegetables over McDonald's, for example, because we can see how the vegetables are going to serve us in living out our inspiration. However, we know that the McDonald's is just going to be an immediate gratification. We'll feel good whilst we're eating it, but then afterwards, our body will say, uh, it's not going to operate as well. It's going to be a bit sluggish with all the fat and salt, all the sugar. You're going to have an energy surge and an energy drop. Essentially, when you eat food that serves you, you are energized. Okay. And so that decision making we make when we're in that higher level thinking, not in that desire center. Okay. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I've got more to share. But before I go on, this is what I'd love to share with you before we go on to the next part of the webinar is the course I'm running. I'm running a My Mastery program. So it's essentially a half-day workshop and then fortnightly check-ins to make sure that you're essentially mastering your mind. So we're going to be covering in more detail what I've shared tonight, and I'm going to help you facilitate mastery and essentially help you dissolve resentments that you have towards anyone, help you love parts of you that you're disowning. So essentially, it's going to help you love the whole you. It's going to help you have unconditional love for others. It's going to help you see things for as they are, as opposed to something you wish they had been. So this is essentially what I wanted to share. If you're interested, please just leave your email address probably, or just let me know you're interested, and I'll reach out to you and we can talk further to see whether it's of something that would be of value to you, because I don't want anyone doing the course if it's not going to be of value to them. I only want people doing the course that really want to be there, that want to learn this information. And as I said, it's not for everyone. Not everyone values this. So please let me know. This is my email address. Just email me, anthony@me&my.com.au, and I'll ask you some questions as I do, and to work out whether it's the right program in terms of what you're looking for. But essentially, this My Mastery workshop is going deep into what I'm sharing tonight and helping you master it so that you can become the master of your destiny and not a victim of history. So essentially, this is all leading to the path of you being you. Okay, so essentially, we're transcending the mind so that in the amygdala, we have this split, we have this polarized view of the world, right? It's either positive, we have a positive view of this and a negative view of that. It's very polarized. And as we ask better questions, we start to integrate and we can start to see the complete balance and we start to see the order. And essentially, we're becoming one, okay? And by essentially you starting to own parts of you that you've been disowning, you're essentially integrating yourself. So it's like integration in mathematics. So obviously the amygdala, when we're split, it's differentiated, okay? It's polarized. As we come together, we're forming covalent bonds essentially. So we're becoming one. We're becoming one compound, okay? So we're not just separate molecules. We're actually like hydrogen and oxygen binding together to form a very strong molecule. That's essentially what this questioning process does. It transcends your thinking so that you are becoming who you are and fully integrated and loving every part of you and loving who you are. So essentially, let's dig a bit deep into this. I want to give you some more information before we finish up. So in terms of, I mentioned, like, what is it that you do spontaneously without anyone having to remind you? I also mentioned, what is it you love talking about? Okay, what is it that you love talking about? And I gave some examples. What is it that you constantly internalize, that you envisage, that you can actually see coming true? You can actually see yourself manifesting elements of it. So for Tanya, we had a little conversation before the webinar. And for me, I know that she's invested in her health. She's here tonight. She's further increasing her knowledge. She wants to set up her own practice, and she's doing programs on LinkedIn. She's connecting with the right people to be able to become the most successful practitioner she can she can be, right? And essentially, she's empowering herself with all the resources to become the best version of her and to share her talent with the rest of the world. So essentially, what Tanya's doing is integrating herself, and she's becoming whole and inspired from within. And so essentially, where do you seek knowledge? Where are you constantly seeking knowledge? So Tanya is seeking knowledge in the area of health. So I'm always upskilling in the area of health. I did the DeMartini Institute course last year. I did 3 courses with the DeMartini Institute. I invested a lot of money with the DeMartini Institute, but it really enhanced my level of thinking and my knowledge in terms of how I can empower my clients to become the best versions of themselves. So it's really aided me in my mission to becoming a better practitioner. So where do you constantly, what podcast do you always listen to? What is it that you're always listening to in terms of learning and wanting to know more about? That's an area of inspiration. That's an area that you value. Where is it that you're spending your money? So beyond the basic necessities such as food, shelter, and water, where do you spend your discretionary money? So for me, I'm spending money on my health. I spend money on my business, which helps my clients. So I'm buying equipment such as computers, such as microphones and headphones. I'm investing in software. I'm investing in education. And that's also, I can help more people become the best and healthiest versions of them. So where you invest in your money, I also invest money in areas that I'm empowered, that I know where money's working for me. So I have money invested in Microsoft, for example. Microsoft's a very successful company and they pay me dividends, and their company is always growing. And so my capital value that I invested with them is constantly growing. So because again, as I said, I value financial freedom. I don't want to be a slave to money. I want money working for me, and I want to do what I'm truly inspired to do, which is this. So I'll do this to the day I die. So I could be doing a webinar when I'm in my hundreds. I clocked up a century. I certainly want to live over a century. And I could be sharing a webinar and I might pass away that night or whatever, but I'm going to be always doing this. I'm always going to be sharing my knowledge because it's where I'm completely inspired. It's where I'm energized. It's where I'm completely centered. I'm completely present, and my resilience is sky high. So my heart rate variability is at its best, is at its peak when I'm doing what truly inspires me. You will have low heart rate variability. So that's low resilience when you're doing things that aren't inspiring to you, when you're doing lower value things. So that when you're doing things that you procrastinate on, so anything you're procrastinating on is of low value. Okay, so don't do it, delegate it, get someone else to do it that loves doing it. So, in terms of where I procrastinate, is with IT problems. There's only so much patience I have for solving IT problems. However, I have an IT department that I delegate IT problems to and get them to solve it. Social media. I love utilizing social media to get wellness information out there, to get my holistic health message out there. However, I don't like being on social media, so I delegate that to a social media company and they do it for me. I just give them the information, they make it look pretty, and they post it for me because I don't enjoy that part of my work. What I enjoy is doing these webinars. So I'm always looking for just doing more of what I enjoy and I'm inspired to do, and less of what I'm not inspired to do, less of the things that are of low value to me, such as I mentioned, being on social media, such as I don't really like driving in a car. So I will walk places, I'll ride a bike places, I will get public transport. I will do everything to avoid driving in a car. I don't like it. I get frustrated when I'm driving in traffic. it doesn't do my health any good. It makes me frustrated and I get into the animal part of the brain. I want to stay in my prefrontal cortex. So delegate. If you go to lower priority things and do things that frustrate you and you hesitate on and you procrastinate, essentially it drives you down to your lower part of the brain. And it will then drive you in that desire center to either seek things that are highly desirable, such as chocolate and cakes and ice cream, or you'll keep running away from challenges that don't inspire you. But when you're doing something that inspires you, you embrace challenges. So I know Tanya is embracing this fear of I'm going out on in doing business myself. I'm going out to become a practitioner, self-employed, and there's risk to that. But because Tanya's so inspired within, she's willing to take on that challenge and she's willing to take on the pain in order to get the pleasure. She is willing to do the integration of pain and pleasure. When you're in your amygdala and you have this polarized view, this one-sided view, essentially you'll do everything to avoid pain and everything to gain pleasure, and that's immediate gratification. When we're integrated and we're inspired, we will work towards something that really inspires us, an inspired vision, and we're willing to take on pain along the way in order for us to live out our inspiration. However, when we're doing things of low value, we're not willing to take on any pain. We want to delegate the pain. We want to run away from it. We want to drown the pain in lollies or junk food or unhealthy behavior. So can you see how this relates to being healthy? And can you see how it can relate to weight gain? Essentially, when we're driven by our animal part of the brain, it's our desire center. We're making irrational decisions. We're making subjective decisions to give immediate fulfillment. And that is ice cream. It does. You ask anyone who's had ice cream, I've had ice cream. You feel great when you're eating ice cream. It is amazing. You get dopamine surges. It does surge your dopamine, but also you also get dopamine surges when you're solving problems that inspire you, like Tanya's doing now when she's seeking this empowerment to become the best practitioner, self-employed practitioner, and be able to help others be the healthiest versions of themselves. Tanya's totally inspired by that. She'll take on all challenges. Look, she's on here on this webinar, and she's seeing what other practitioners do as to how what they do with their business. How do they get new clients? So I'm hoping that helps, you get a better understanding of what you truly value. The other thing is, where you constantly setting goals that you can see coming true. So Tanya set a goal to obtain a bachelor, and she delivered. That goal got delivered. Okay. She achieved that goal. So I know that Tanya truly values health. She has a high value on health, because when you set a goal that's not of high value to you, you procrastinate, you hesitate, and you frustrate. And you don't do it. You don't achieve anything. Okay. But when you set it in an area of inspiration, you will start to see evidence that your dreams coming true, that your vision's coming true. So I do these webinars weekly, and the turnout varies. It's sort of up and down and all over the place. But I keep doing them because at the same time, no matter how many people I'm sharing this with tonight, I'm also consolidating my learning, my knowledge, and being able to become a master of articulating that message. And eventually I'll be able to articulate the message that the people just get and they want to hear more of. And it just comes through practice. I'm not a perfect presenter. I just keep practicing. I'm practicing every webinar, and I'm getting better every webinar. So I started webinars when COVID hit. So I've been doing it for 2 years now, and I've probably averaged one every 2 weeks, but I do a podcast every week. Okay. So that's another area which I enable to get me to more people, and able to me to serve more people, is podcasting. Okay. So where is it you're constantly learning? Where is it you constantly, what is it that you do that energizes you? What is it where you're spending your money consistently? Where are you setting goals that you're constantly seeing evidence that are coming true? Where do you have this vision in your head, you internalize this vision, and you can see actually manifesting. What are these areas? And they're areas of high value. Any area that you're not achieving your goals is an area of low value. And so that's where you're going to essentially attract illness, and you'll attract the illness to drive you towards being you. And being you and wellness is one, right? So when you're being you and the authentic you and loving the whole you won't make decisions that sabotage your body. So when you love the whole you won't have any desire to sabotage and to destroy your body, because you essentially want to be here in this mortal body for as long as possible, because you're on a mission. I'm on a mission. I'm inspired in terms of what I do. And you too, when you connect with your inspiration, you too will be on a mission, and you won't do anything that sabotages you to achieve that vision that you set out to achieve. You want your body to be in the best shape possible to go along with you, to be able to have endless energy, to be able to serve as many people as possible, and to be able to contribute to this wonderful world we live in. So again, you'll make better decisions when you're living out what's high on your value. You won't sabotage, you won't eat junk food. I don't touch junk food. And again, I'm not using willpower. I don't use willpower to stop me from eating junk food. I see it for what it is, and I can see a purpose and how it serves. However, it's not helping me get to where I want to get to in terms of what I want to achieve, or with my health and with my vision and what I'm inspired by. So it doesn't. So therefore I make a decision not to have it. But again, I'm not doing without it. I'm not using willpower. Okay. And again, you won't need willpower when you're doing what truly inspires you. You won't even think about food. You'll think, oh, a whole day's gone by, I haven't eaten, when you're doing something that's inspirational to you. Now, I want to finish on this point. It's where it all comes unraveled is when we compare ourselves to others. We're comparing us to the magnificent them. What's the point of doing that? You want to compare yourself to the magnificent you. So how are you going according to you and your highest values? What are you doing today that's helping you fulfill your highest values? That's the only comparison you want to do. Have I done what I said I'd set out to do in order to fulfill my highest values? So I've got a goal this year to do weekly webinars. I am achieving that goal this year. Okay. I've got a goal to do weekly podcasts. I am achieving that goal, and I'm actually overachieving in that goal. I have a goal this year to get on as many other people's podcasts as possible. So my goal is to do at least 12. So that's one a month. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, I've doubled that goal or tripled that goal. So again, that's how you can help me. If you know someone that is running a health podcast, I would love to be a guest on their health podcast. That's how you could help me. And again, let me know how I can help you, and I'll set about, and like, as I haven't said this to Tanya, but I'll say it now, I'm happy to mentor Tanya in her journey to becoming a practitioner, because the more we help others get what they want, the more we attract people to help us get what we want. Okay. So don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to you, and you stepping into the magnificent you and being you and staying you. Okay. So what are you doing today that fulfills your highest values, where you can just be magnificent and shine to the world? Okay. When we compare ourselves to others, we shrink, because of course we're comparing ourselves to the best version of them, and we're going to look little or belittled or feel smaller than them. Okay. But when we are magnificent and they're magnificent, we can see equanimity, okay, between us. We can see that they're living out their values and I'm living out my values. And that's how we get this evolving brain. This is how we get this evolving and moving forward and progressive world. This is how we solve the problems of today. This is how we solve climate change. This is how we solve the hardest challenges that we have in the environment today. Okay, so never compare yourself to others. Just compare yourself as to how you're measuring against the objectives that you've set that are going to take you closer to your inspired vision. That's the only thing. It's the only comparison you do. Okay, if you like this, then I've got a whole lot more episodes around this and other. I interview a range of other guests on my podcast, and it's specialists, medical specialists, doctors, PhDs in nutrition. They've psychologists. I've interviewed, you name it, I've interviewed them. So yeah, check it out. You can scan this QR code. It'll take you directly to my podcast channel. It's called Me and My Health Up. Over 150 episodes, all for free. Just indulge, enjoy it. You'll find there's an abundance of episodes that you'll like. There's no doubt. I cover health holistically, lots on nutrition, lots on mental health, lots on physical health. It's all covered. Spiritual health, everything. And please stay connected with me. These are the areas you can. I'm on every platform. I'm even on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, my handle is at me&my wellness. Here's my Facebook handle, my Instagram handle, and my website. So please stay connected. I'd love to help and serve you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on. What I'll do before I start answering the questions, I'll stop the recording so that you're not recorded. And thank you for attending the webinar. Really appreciate it. I'm extremely grateful for you staying on and listening throughout the whole webinar. And I'm really hoping that you achieve some good information tonight. Thank you.